Welcome, everyone. We finally made it. You are watching the grand finale of our epic 7-part explainer series. We've literally climbed the summit together. Over our past modules, we followed what is arguably one of the most profound and sweeping love stories ever told by humanity. Today, we're going to step back. We're going to let the absolute wisdom of this entire journey just kind of wash over us. Think of it like a brilliant sunrise after a really long, dark night. We're wrapping up the whole shebang with the eternal teaching and what Shiva and Parvati actually mean. Okay, let's dive right into this. For the whole series, we've tracked the events, right? We know the narrative beats. But today, we're asking the central question that this entire journey has been quietly building toward. The question isn't what happened. We know what happens. The real question is, why does it matter? What does this massive, ancient story actually mean? Why has it been told, retold, and fiercely protected for literally thousands of years? And maybe most importantly, what does it have to say to us, right here, right now, living in our modern age with our own personal loves, our own devastating losses, and our deepest longings? Let's just quickly look back at our timeline, just to see how this builds into something so much larger than a sequence of events. When we view this story from a distance, sweeping from the very beginning to where we stand now, wow, what an incredible journey we've taken together. We started with Sati's absolute defiance of her father. We wept together at the devastating heartbreak of the yagna. We stood shivering in the freezing snow during Parvati's relentless tapasya. We celebrated that beautiful, sacred reunion on Kailash, and we completely marveled at the building of Kashi, the eternal city of light. When you zoom out and look at this massive timeline, these cosmic patterns start to emerge. It turns out the story has actually been quietly offering us 4 great teachings all along. Which brings us to teaching 1, love is choosable. Now, this teaching is a massive shift from how we normally think about relationships. So often we think of love as something that just passively happens to you, right? Like you just fall into it. But here, it's a deliberate, powerful, and honestly, sometimes really difficult choice. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what that choice looks like in practice. Look at the absolute mutuality of their choices. Sati chose Shiva when literally every single force in her world commanded her not to. And then she chose him again in her rebirth as Parvati, when she could have easily chosen a way more comfortable path. She chose him through brutal seasons of tapasya in the snow. But hey, Shiva chose too. He chose to faithfully wait on Kailash for a love he couldn't even be absolutely certain would ever return. He chose compassion over his rage. He chose to pry open his closed ascetic heart. In their most honest moments, they both fully acknowledged this. Parvati knew Shiva would go silent for ages, that his mountain was freezing and his companions were, well, kind of strange. And Shiva knew Parvati would playfully plunge the entire universe into darkness just to make him laugh. They knew exactly who the other was, flaws and all, and they chose each other anyway. Let's move on to teaching 2, love survives. This addresses one of the absolute hardest parts of the human experience. What happens when love meets tragedy? The hard truth here is that real love endures through profound transformation rather than simply ending. We see this survival mapped out in these agonizing yet incredibly beautiful steps. Sati stepping into the sacred fire, that was the greatest tragedy of our story. But that love didn't just end in the ashes. The grief literally transformed the earth, creating the sacred geography of the Shakti Pithas. And from that tragic ending came a brand new beginning, Parvati, a new form of the exact same eternal soul, completely ready to love again. Listen, this is not a comfortable mythology. It absolutely does not promise that the path of devotion will be painless or a straight line. But it promises something so much more durable. It guarantees that what is real cannot ultimately be destroyed. It can only be transformed and redirected toward its next beginning. And that naturally leads us to teaching 3, love creates. Because true love is an active, cosmos-building force. It doesn't just sit still on a couch and admire itself. When we look at the tangible results of their union, we see that their love built actual things to answer the precise needs of the universe. It created Ganesha, the remover of obstacles who stands at every single threshold. It made Kartikeya, the commander of divine armies and the god of purpose. It gave birth to the Tandava and Lasya, the cosmic dance that literally, and I mean literally, holds the universe in balance. And of course, it built Kashi, the eternal city of liberation that is still receiving millions of pilgrims today. True love acts. It solves problems. It creates beings and cities and dances and teachings that the world desperately requires. Now we arrive at teaching 4, love is philosophical. This is, without a doubt, the deepest truth of all. It brings this massive, grand, cosmic narrative all the way down to a profoundly intimate and personal level. So the crucial point here is understanding the concept of Ardhanarishvara. This is the teaching that love, at its absolute deepest core level, is not merely the meeting of two separate things. No, it's the ultimate recognition that two apparent separations were actually always one. Shiva and Parvati aren't just a husband and wife. They represent the two fundamental principles of all existence: consciousness, which is the still witness, and energy, which is the dynamic movement. Their love isn't just incidental to the universe. Their love is the universe. The cosmos itself is exactly what happens when these two principles choose each other. And hey, this isn't just about a god and goddess sitting on some distant mountain. This teaching reaches all the way down into you. Yes, you. Everyone watching this explainer holds this exact same dynamic balance inside them right now. You have a still awareness that quietly observes your life, and you have a dynamic, vibrant energy that actually goes out and lives it. It's the silence within and the voice without. Shiva and Parvati are the two forces within you, constantly engaged in an eternal, unending conversation. Which finally brings us to our concluding segment, the final conversation on Mount Kailash. To truly understand this, I want you to imagine the mountain glowing in the twilight. The cosmos is just going about its endless, swirling business. And Shiva and Parvati are sitting together in that easy, comfortable silence. You know, the kind of silence of two people who have said everything, yet haven't finished saying it. After a long, quiet moment, Parvati asks this profoundly meta question. She says, "People have been telling our story for thousands of years. What do you think they are really looking for in it?" Just let that sink in for a second. She is asking about us. She is asking about the millions of people who have kept this narrative alive across millennia. What are we searching for when we look at them? Shiva considers this seriously, and he answers with one single powerful word: permission. When Parvati asks permission, for what? Shiva explains. He says it is permission to love something completely. Think about it. We live in a world that is constantly telling us to be careful, right? To hold back, to protect ourselves, keep our guards up and choose wisely, practically, safely. But Shiva says their story is a cosmic permission slip that says, no, choose completely. Love with everything you have. Yes, it's going to cost you. Yes, you will lose things. And yes, there will absolutely be fire. But beyond the fire is Kailash. There is reunion, there is Kashi, there is the cosmic dance. Their story gives us permission to believe that real love is worth everything it demands of us.
And then Parvati asks the ultimate question. It's the very same question every single human heart quietly asks when faced with the terrifying prospect of giving themselves entirely to someone or something. She looks right at him and asks, "And what do you think? Is it worth it?"
Shiva looks back at her with eyes that have literally seen every single age of creation. He says, "I am the Lord of Time, Parvati. I have watched universes rise and fall. I have sat through the massive silence between creations. And the only thing that has ever made that silence bearable is knowing you are in it somewhere, waiting to return, always returning. So yes, it is worth it. It is worth everything. It is the only thing that is worth everything. He is the Lord of Time, and he chooses this moment, this mountain, and this love." She takes his hand. The mountain breathes, the Ganges flows, and the eternal story just continues. It continues in every temple, in every prayer, and in every person who has ever loved something completely and found the absolute courage not to stop. Sacred stories like this, they don't survive just by sitting quietly on library shelves gathering dust. They survive in the beating hearts of people who just cannot stop telling them. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible, sweeping journey through the Shiva and Parvati Explainer series. As we close this chapter, I want to leave you with one final, provocative question to carry home with you today. In a world that constantly tells you to hold back, what is the one thing you are going to give yourself permission to choose completely? Until next time, keep learning, keep choosing, and har har Mahat.